The Kansai region of Japan offers the perfect blend of modern culture and ancient traditions. From temples to theme parks, this is everything we did in a week exploring Kansai, Japan. We flew into Kansai International Airport and began our trip in Kyoto, starting with matcha shopping in Uji, which is known for producing high-quality matcha. We also got some street food to snack on, including a cucumber stick for Kenji, which has become somewhat of a tradition for him whenever we see them for sale. Once we acquired all the matcha we wanted, we made our way to Byodoin. There is a small admission fee to enter the temple and a separate fee to enter the Phoenix Hall, but it is a small price to pay to experience the serenity at this UNESCO World Heritage Site. As a little fun fact, the Phoenix Hall is also featured on the 10-yen coin. After leaving our luggage at the hotel, we drove to Takashimaya for a late lunch and some shopping in the area, including the Nintendo store, where I bought this Animal Crossing blind box and got Marshall's room. We then continued our stroll over to Nishiki Market, and although we didn't buy much here, it was a decent way to end our first day in Kyoto. We booked tickets for the first entry of the day at TeamLab Biovortex, the newest and biggest TeamLab in Japan. It was a pretty chilly day, so it was nice to be indoors for this attraction, and we stayed for a little over 2 hours exploring all the rooms. As it was our third TeamLab experience, there were some familiar artwork, but also some new ones we hadn't seen before, so it was still a worthwhile addition to our itinerary. After a satisfying lunch, we headed over to Sannenzaka to do some shopping and sightseeing. We also did some snacking along the way and got this lemon-flavored pickled cucumber and shumai dumplings on a stick. We headed back towards the car as the sun started to set and chanced upon a matcha cafe, so we took a short matcha break before setting off for our next stop. After a short drive, we arrived at Kodaiji Temple for their Autumn Illuminations, which is an annual event held between October and December. They even had a special glow-in-the-dark goshuin available at the reception desk. The temple grounds was illuminated beautifully and was bigger than I had initially anticipated. The main highlight for me was the temple's very own bamboo forest, which is a great alternative if you don't want to travel to Arashiyama and face the crowds there. We ended off the night with dinner at an unagi restaurant where we had an unagiu and a wagyu beef bowl. We had a list of things we wanted to do in Shiga prefecture, but due to several hiccups, we were not able to do any of them. We ended up having a late lunch at the mall and played some games at the game center before making our way back to Kyoto. Back in Kyoto, we took a stroll along Pontocho alley and I bought a couple of things from Pontocho Usagiya, which is a must visit if you're in the area. We didn't really find anything we wanted to have for dinner here, so we had sushi at a nearby mall, which is always a hit with the kids. After an hour-long drive, we arrived in Osaka, and one of the first things we wanted to do was to have an authentic Osaka dining experience. We had negiyaki, okonomiyaki, yakisoba, and grilled squid, which were all really good. Our hotel was in the Osaka Bay area, so we spent the rest of the night at Tempozan Harbor Village, where they had a small game center with arcade games for kids. We got a simple but satisfying dinner, then stopped to take some photos before heading back to the hotel. We set aside a full day for Universal Studios, and it was surprisingly not as crowded as we thought it would be. We were able to easily gain entry passes to Super Nintendo World and went on a ride at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter without having to wait too long. There were still a handful of attractions that my kids were too short for, but we were still able to enjoy the park to the best of our ability. All of the rides in Super Nintendo World had massive waiting times, but Yoshi's Adventure was the only ride my kids could go on, so that was the only one we lined up for. It was a cute and whimsical ride that offered a good view of Super Nintendo World as a whole, but this still didn't justify the long waiting time in my opinion. We got a quick hot dog after the ride and stopped to see the mini dinosaur show in Jurassic Park. We got on a few other rides throughout the day and had a very satisfying dinner at Seidel before ending our time at Universal Studios with a few rounds on Elmo's Little Drive. This was hands down the kids' favorite attraction in the park. We had a great time and hope to visit again when the kids are much taller. After a quick breakfast at the hotel, we drove out to Nara Prefecture where we had a booking for a kimono rental and location photo shoot. The hour-long shoot gave us some precious memories and over 80 edited photos to commemorate this trip. It was truly a fuss-free and seamless experience, and we would recommend this to anyone. After our session was done, the photographer guided us towards Kodaiji, and we took some extra photos on our own. These are some of my favorite shots that were taken with my iPhone, which I feel turned out pretty decent despite being a novice. We did a quick walk around the temple grounds, prayed, and got a goshuin before returning our kimonos. We had a late lunch at Tenri Stamina Ramen and it was so good. I'm usually a Sapporo miso ramen lover, but this bowl of Stamina Ramen was so delicious I would have a hard time choosing between the two. Back in Osaka, we had a mediocre dinner before returning back to the hotel. We began day 7 shopping at Rinku Premium Outlets, which is a massive outlet mall located about 15 minutes away from Kansai International Airport. Our main goal was to get a pair of onitsukas, which we accomplished, and we also had a decent lunch here. We spent the rest of the night in the Namba area doing a little bit of shopping before enjoying some authentic okonomiyaki at Botejiu. The heat from the teppan is intense, but the food was good, so I have no real reason to complain. While walking back to the car, we stumbled upon this fake vending machine that's actually an entrance to a hidden bar, which I thought was pretty cool. On our final day in Osaka, we took a day trip to Kobe, but first stopped at the Cup Noodles Museum. There is a Cup Noodles workshop and a chicken ramen workshop at the museum, with the Cup Noodles option available with no age requirements, whereas the chicken ramen option has a minimum age requirement of 6 years old. For the Cup Noodles workshop, you'll first get a ticket at the reception counter before buying empty cups at the vending machine for 500 yen each. The workflow is very straightforward, and you'll basically spend as much time as you want decorating your cups with the pens provided by the museum. It is extremely kid-friendly, and we had so much fun having a little arts and crafts moment as a family. This is how my cup turned out, and this is how my husband decorated his. This is Joji's final design, and last but not least, Kenji's finished product. The next part of the workshop involved filling our cups with noodles and the various ingredients. There was a little wheel that we had to turn in order to fit the noodles into our empty cups, so again, it's a very straightforward process that little kids can do on their own as well. The next step was choosing our desired soup base and 4 toppings. The staff were very patient even with our indecisive kids. We all chose the seafood soup base, but each of us had different toppings, so every cup noodle we made was uniquely ours. The final steps involve sealing the cups with a lid and shrink wrapping everything. The cup noodles are good for a year from the date of manufacture, and these finishing touches help ensure that your noodles stay fresh for as long as possible. For 500 yen per cup, this was a very affordable addition to our itinerary and a great family activity. We didn't have a lot of time in Kobe, so we only stopped at Kobe Harborland, which is a huge shopping mall by the waterfront with a giant Ferris wheel. We visited in December, so there was also a Christmas market event happening in the evenings. Since we were in Kobe, I got 100 grams of this top-grade Kobe beef for 6,990 yen, which seems like a lot for just 4 slices, but this was hands down the best meal I had throughout the entire trip. There was a matcha cafe nearby, so we took a much-needed matcha break, and as you can see, Joji is on cloud 9 with his matcha soft serve. The Christmas market was about to start, so we made our way over, and the view of the waterfront was really quite stunning. The Ferris wheel was also beautifully lit up, and there was an ongoing drone light show that was visible from where we stood. The Christmas market itself was pretty small, and all the food stalls had a long line, so we only got a couple of churros and just soaked in the vibes. Kobe was a beautiful city even though we barely scratched the surface. We would love to visit again in the near future so we can explore more on what Hyogo Prefecture has to offer.